When reality shatters, denial is the only shield. He never truly understood the reality of his situation. His legendary black flames couldn't even scratch the hero's, and the hero's sword pierced his impenetrable scales with ease. He simply couldn't comprehend how this was possible. After all, he was a prodigy who graduated top of his class. He meticulously studied the ancient Demon King's standards. Following its every rule, he built a menacing tower. He kidnapped princesses and cultivated the heroes who came to fight him. Their anger and sorrow were the finest feast he could imagine. He believed true sincerity was letting them grow strong before the final meal. He absorbed the anguish of countless heroes and civilians. This power crowned him the strongest Demon King in history. So why, after following the plan perfectly, was he the one defeated? The question echoed in his mind, a desperate, unanswered how. But the hero just laughed, mocking his predictable confusion. He taunts the Demon King, saying they always bring this fate upon themselves. The Demon King can only whisper a curse in utter disbelief. The hero points out the obvious flaw. Kidnapping a princess is a clear invitation for a fight. He grabs him, yelling that a real threat would have killed the human king and plunged the world into chaos. He reasons that killing the king would only scatter the human's anger. This would prevent his own growth and violate the sacred standards. The hero laughs, grateful for the monsters he sent to train them in the villages. His tower became the perfect centralized training ground for them all. Its lower floors were filled with weak monsters, perfect for leveling up. The Demon King realizes his careful plan to cultivate heroes only strengthened them. He had simply followed the teachings of the standards to the letter. But his blind obedience only earned him another brutal blow from the hero. His world shatters as the hero's cruel logic sinks in. The hero explains that when a tower gets boring, they just kill its master. A new Demon King in tower will simply appear, a perfect hunting ground. All the other heroes cheer, mockingly calling him their godfather. They thank him for providing the best training experience imaginable. The words crush him. His life's work was just a game to them. The hero admits he was strong, but that only made his own victory more famous. With a final mocking goodbye, he raises his sword for the finishing blow. Rage consumes the Demon King, unable to accept this humiliating end. He questions the very standards that led him to this pathetic fate. A final surge of defiance courses through him. He refuses to die in vain. With a last roar of identity, he screams that he is a Demon King. He roars, not as a king, but as a being betrayed by his own world. The heroes watch on, their faces blurred and indifferent to his pain. Lying defeated, he swears that those who look down on him will see the consequences of their mockery. His final curse forms as the hero prepares to take his head. But another hero steps forward, claiming the horns as his own trophy. In a shocking betrayal, he suddenly strikes down his own comrade. The Demon King sees his chance, willing to sacrifice his last shred of life. The treacherous hero freezes, sensing an unbelievable surge of power. With a final, desperate scream, the Demon King unleashes everything he has left. A cataclysmic explosion of purple energy erupts from his body. The blast consumes the heroes, his life force becoming their tomb. In his fading moments, he realizes the standards were completely wrong. He understands they were a lie that made Demon Kings into prey for heroes. With his dying breath, he makes a new vow: screw the standards. He will give them the true despair they so richly deserve. But then, his eyes snap wide open in utter disbelief. He's no longer in his tower, but in a grand, ornate hall. Surrounded by other demons, he stands confused in a strange uniform. The impossible truth hits him as he whispers, "I'm alive?" A voice calls out his name, Bergedeus, and he realizes it's him. He walks forward, his mind racing to understand the situation. The impossible truth dawns on him. He's back in the past. The academy's director scolds him for hesitating on graduation day. He's presented with the red badge, the official symbol of a Demon King. His eyes widen as the full memory of this day returns. He's at the Demon King Military Academy, 15 years before his death. Standing among the graduates, he understands this is his second chance. As the top student, he's called to recite the pledge for his entire class. He stands before a projection of the Demon King's standard. He remembers memorizing and following every single one of its rules. These were the very rules that led him to his pathetic demise. He questions having to recite the doctrine that became his cage. He'd have to swear his life to this lie in front of everyone. His face twists into a mask of pure, unadulterated rage. The announcer nervously prompts him to begin reading the standard. Standing before the entire academy, he makes a bold declaration: "I refuse." The entire student body stares back in stunned, silent confusion. He erupts, screaming that he won't pledge himself to such foolishness. With all his fury, he yells that the Demon King's standard is trash. His classmates are left utterly speechless by his outburst. The academy's director screams in disbelief, his glasses shattering from the shock. His defiant words echo through the hall like a thunderclap. This was the moment the academy's top prodigy became its biggest failure. A fist slams down in fury from the highest seat in the hall. The Archduke of the Demon Realm threatens him with on-the-spot execution. But considering his talent, the Archduke offers him one final chance. He must apologize or face deployment to the dreaded land of Arien. The nobles whisper in fear. Arien is a graveyard for demon kings. Others demand his head, outraged by his insult to their sacred rules. The Archduke warns him it's the most dangerous domain in existence. But with a defiant smirk, Berger simply says, "Send me there." He vows to go to Arien and prove the standards are worthless. Enraged, the Archduke declares his deployment effective immediately. He's stripped of all his rank, privileges, and support. Banished from the demon realm, he's launched into the sky alone. As he falls, he calmly accepts his fate, knowing he caused this. He's being sent back to Arien, the very world where he was killed. He remembers choosing this difficult path out of sheer arrogance in his past life. That same arrogance led to his death, as heroes had learned to exploit the standards. A massive explosion marks his violent arrival in the human world. He lands in the frozen Urgus Mountains, the very place he died. With cold determination, he vows not to repeat his past mistakes. This time, he'll exploit the hero's own predictable standards. We flash back to Gordon Dirick, the top graduate of the Demon Academy. He explains that while one academy trains demon kings, his trains their servants. The other top graduates are jealous he gets to serve the legendary Berger. Gordon humbly praises the other demon kings graduating with them, but a sinister grin reveals his absolute obsession with Lord Berger. The other students see Berger as a once-in-a-millennium prodigy. They believe with him leading, they can conquer any dimension. Gordon dreams of being immortalized in history as Berger's right-hand man. But back on the graduation stage, Berger shatters his dream by saying, "That's wrong." Gordon and the entire hall are frozen in stunned disbelief. They watch in horror as Berger screams that their sacred standards are trash. Now in the present, Gordon stands alone in the frozen wasteland. His mind reels in confusion, unable to understand why this happened. He was told no one would follow the banished king, yet someone was sent. He turns, his face a mask of shock as he sees who it is. Berger approaches him, extending a hand and calmly saying, "Good to see you, Gordon." Gordon demands to know why he threw everything away, but Berger feigns ignorance. He explodes, screaming that Berger's blasphemy against the standards has doomed them both to die. Berger calmly tells him to fix his hair, but Gordon yells that it's not the issue. Berger wonders what happened to the confident and composed Gordon he knew before. A flashback shows the old Gordon, grinning that a challenge like Arien only motivates him more. Berger understands his panic, but knows telling him about the future would sound insane. Gordon forces himself to calm down, grimacing as he vows to fulfill his duty. The first rule of the standards appears: a demon king's tower must be easy for heroes to find. Gordon insists they can't build a tower here. It's too remote and dangerous for humans to reach. But Berger ignores him, declaring this is the perfect spot as he prepares to plant a seed. He stabs a tower seed into the snow, an artifact that grows when fed a demon king's blood. Gordon screams that he's defying the standards, but Berger reminds him he never swore an oath. Berger understands his servant's disgust, knowing how deeply demons are bound by their faith. He reflects that only a drastic event like death could break that faith, just like it did for him. Dripping his blood onto the seed, he declares the standards are garbage, especially in Arien. Gordon can only stare, his mind completely unable to process this heresy. The tower seed pulses with a brilliant red light as it absorbs Berger's blood. A massive wave of energy erupts, shaking the frozen mountains to their core. Berger smirks, revealing the truth. Arien is already swarming with far too many heroes. A chilling montage shows the countless, powerful heroes that already infest this world. The tower seed activates, identifying its new master, Berger Deus. With its user confirmed, a colossal tower erupts from the frozen ground. Berger explains that humans learn to exploit the tower's rules, turning the standards against them. Gordon can only stare in confusion, unable to comprehend the term heroes' standards. They stand before the newly formed fortress, a monument to Berger's defiance. Gordon looks up in utter disbelief, realizing his master truly intends to stay here. Berger calmly walks towards the entrance, beckoning his stunned servant to follow. They step inside, finding the first floor is just a vast, empty hall. Gordon notes the lack of monsters, a fittingly empty tower for a king with no privileges. As they reach the throne room, he realizes every single floor is completely barren. Desperate for some normalcy, Gordon insists they must at least follow the second rule. The standards demand the kidnapping of a prince or princess to provoke the heroes. Gordon advises his king, explaining that royalty provides the most potent demonic energy. He suggests kidnapping the princess from the nearby kingdom, but Barry surprisingly agrees to the plan. Berger reveals he already has a target, ordering Gordon to remain and guard the empty tower. Gordon is overcome with relief, believing his master has finally come to his senses. As Berger prepares to leave, Gordon asks which princess he intends to capture. Berger pauses for a moment before revealing his true target. He takes flight, heading for the kingdom of Hilderan, the farthest nation on the continent. His destination is a single brightly lit window in the royal castle. He hovers outside her window, a demonic silhouette against the full moon. His target is the forgotten 13th princess, the one with the least presence. With a serious expression, he announces he's come to take her away. Gordon's voice screams in his mind that this is the exact opposite of the standards. Berger enters her room, standing before the surprisingly calm princess. She looks up with wide, innocent eyes and simply asks, "Who are you?" He introduces himself as the Demon King who has come to kidnap her. But instead of fear, she smiles and asks if he's sure he can handle her. Berger scoffs at her strange question, confidently declaring his power as a Demon King. The princess beams, happily agreeing to be taken by him. Her strange calmness makes him suspicious, questioning what she's plotting. He warns her not to mistake his desperation for foolishness. He won't be tricked. She calmly denies any plot, pointing out the impossibility of predicting his arrival. Berger admits she has a point but can't shake an uncomfortable feeling. With a gentle smile, she extends her hand and asks, "Then, shall we?" He flies back across the frozen landscape, carrying his willing captive. Berger lands inside his tower, where Gordon anxiously awaits his safe return. He orders the princess be given a room, not a cell, as a reward for her cooperation. Gordon accepts the order, but has something urgent he must tell his king. The princess is left alone in the vast empty hall of the tower's 4th floor. The princess sits on the cold floor, finally letting the reality of her kidnapping sink in. She thinks about her old life, realizing there are no pillows, blankets, or maids here. Unlike her old kingdom's gardens, this place is barren, yet a strange smile appears on her face. To her own surprise, she cheerfully declares that this situation isn't so bad. Back in the throne room, Gordon reports an invitation from the Tower of Beasts. He explains it's a welcome party for the new Demon King, but Berger is suspicious. Berger dismisses it as a pathetic attempt by the other kings to haze him. He knows Demon Kings are too proud to cooperate, but Arian's danger forced them into an alliance. In his past life, he ignored them, but this time he decides to at least make contact. They arrive at the Tower of Beast, a massive structure overgrown with jungle vines. Inside, the Demon King of Beasts, Draxen, introduces himself while gnawing on a massive bone. Draxen snarls, unimpressed by the newcomer who mocked their sacred traditions. Berger cuts to the chase, asking if he's here for a fight or has actual business. The Beast King reveals Archduke Arcane ordered him to watch over the banished prodigy. Berger casually dismisses the Archduke as a noisy old vampire geezer. Draxen explodes in fury at the blatant disrespect for their leader. He throws the bone at Berger's feet, demanding he lick it as an apology. The Beast King sneers, knowing Berger is here because he defied the orthodox Demon Kings. Berger grins, pointing out a flaw in his logic. Their orthodoxy forbids Demon Kings from killing each other. He then stomps down with incredible force, shattering the bone into pieces. Draxen recoils in fear, overwhelmed by Berger's immense aura. He nervously reveals his true mission, checking if Berger kidnapped a princess for the Archduke. Berger casually walks away, informing the Beast King that he's already done it. He adds with a smirk that he chose a princess who perfectly suits his taste. They return to their imposing tower, a lone fortress in the frozen wasteland. Back on his throne, Gordon praises his master's show of strength. Berger orders Gordon to check on the princess, planning how to best utilize her. He reflects on his troublesome situation with the other orthodox Demon Kings. Despite the consequences, he knows he'd make the same choice without hesitation. He stands defiantly, vowing he'd rather die than bow to their worthless standards. Checking his status, he expects only a few hundred points from the low-rank princess. But his eyes widen in shock as he sees an impossible 13,000 points. Suddenly, a video message arrives from the Tower of Beasts. A surprisingly cheerful Draxon congratulates him on his achievement. He shows Berger a card of a powerful hero, impressed by his supposed accomplishment. Berger's face twists in horror as a terrible realization dawns on him. Gordon bursts in, screaming that something has happened on the 4th floor. Berger looks up, completely unprepared for what he's about to see. The once barren 4th floor has been transformed into a lush, vibrant paradise. The princess stands among elemental spirits, having created an entire ecosystem in his tower. Berger realizes only one spiritist on the entire continent could master all 4 elements. He confronts her, and she admits he mistook her for the real 13th princess, Elena. His face contorts in horror as the terrible truth begins to dawn on him. With a wicked grin, she reveals her true identity, Ernan Hilderan, the 1st princess. The news immediately spreads across the Hilderan kingdom, causing mass panic. The king roars in absolute fury, demanding to know who dared to kidnap his daughter. He orders the strongest heroes and the entire military to assemble and bring her back. Ernan smirks, reminding Berger this is exactly why she asked if he could handle her. He demands to know how she, a genius elemental mage, managed to fool him. She shows him a ring, a royal heirloom that completely concealed her mana. Ernan then coyly asks if he wants to send her back now that he knows the truth. Berger realizes sending her back would make him a coward and cost him all the demonic energy. With grim determination, he decides he has to stick with his disastrous choice. A system alert confirms the kingdom's rage is now focused on him, causing his points to soar. He accepts that it doesn't matter who she is, the outcome is the same. Berger declares that regardless of her identity, she is still his hostage. Meanwhile, in the kingdom of Hilderan, the court is in an uproar. The king repeats his furious command, kill the demon king and rescue his princess. His advisors plead for patience, admitting they don't even know which demon king is responsible. He explodes, screaming at them for doing nothing while his daughter is in danger. But an advisor points out the demon king of lust was just killed for a similar crime. He questions why another demon king would be foolish enough to repeat the same mistake. The king snarls, convinced this new threat must be an inexperienced fool. A knight bursts in, reporting they've tracked the teleportation magic to the Urgist Mountains. The king's eyes widen in horror at the mention of that dreaded location. We see Berger's tower, a solitary fortress in the vast frozen mountain range. Gordon warns his master that the Hilderan army will soon arrive and may be too much to handle. Berger smirks, confidently stating the kingdom's army will never be able to reach them. Back in Hilderan, the court realizes their army can't cross the entire continent to reach the north. Berger explains this was his plan all along, forcing them to hire a hero guild instead. With no other choice, the king reluctantly gives the order to contact the hero guild. The massive, imposing tower of the hero guild stands tall amidst the snow. Inside, heroes refuse the quest, unwilling to risk their lives in the hellish Urgist region. Berger knew this would happen, as the money-obsessed heroes would never take such a dangerous job. Gordon realizes his master, despite ignoring the rules, is incredibly knowledgeable about Arayan. He can't help but feel that it's as if Berger has been here before. The king of Hilderan explodes in rage, learning that no hero will accept the mission. His advisor explains that Arian's heroes are too picky, caring more about profit than justice. Berger calmly checks his system, knowing it will take time for a proper hero party to assemble. His face darkens as he recalls the heroes who killed him, remembering their fear all too well. He orders Gordon to contact Draxon, announcing his plan to sell demonic energy for human money. Gordon screams in absolute horror, completely unable to process the command. He panics, yelling that demonic energy is the sacred currency that powers their very existence. Berger calmly explains that his current energy can't stop the heroes, but human money can. With a new plan in mind, he travels to the human fortress city of Holton Work. Disguised in a cloak, he's stopped by guards who find a lone mercenary suspicious. A simple flick of a gold coin is enough to change the guard's mind. Now inside the city, Berger decides his first step is to find a local guide. He walks through the bustling streets searching for the right kind of information broker. Inside a rowdy tavern, the captain of a mercenary guild lazes about, enjoying the easy life. He boasts that they just let the soldiers fight while they collect the loot. The captain dismisses the rumor of a new demon king, saying they always build towers in convenient locations. Another mercenary mentions the hero guild turned down the rescue mission because of the dangerous destination. The captain scoffs, convinced it's just a ploy by the heroes to demand more money. He laughs manically, claiming everyone knows how greedy the hero guild is. A sinister voice suddenly whispers from behind him, "So that's how it is." The captain screams in terror as the entire guild draws their weapons on the cloaked intruder. Berge grins, deciding these knowledgeable mercenaries will be his guides before ordering all but one to leave. The mercenaries charge, screaming that he won't be leaving their headquarters alive. With a single explosive punch, Berge sends the attackers flying in a spray of blood. He effortlessly dispatches the first wave of attackers with a flurry of brutal blows. The enraged captain lunges forward, bringing a massive club down on the intruder. But Berge is faster, meeting the attack with a devastating counterpunch to the face. He grins with sadistic glee, his fist still embedded in the wall behind the captain. More mercenaries rush in from the upper floors armed with crossbows. Berge sends another one flying, shattering furniture and causing chaos in the tavern. The captain trembles on the floor, stammering in terror that his attacker is a monster. Outside, citizens casually remark on the mercenaries fighting again, completely unfazed. In moments, the entire guild lies defeated, scattered across the wrecked tavern floor. Berge looms over the terrified captain, demanding to know the location of the slave market. Now acting as his guide, the mercenary captain leads Berge through the city streets. At the market, the captain presents a cage of human slaves, asking if they are to his liking. Berge asks for something rarer, tossing him a heavy bag of gold to speed things up. The captain's face lights up with a greedy grin, immediately agreeing to his request. Berge notes that humans' lust for money is no different from demons' lust for power. The captain leads him to a more secure location, promising to show him the special stock. Berge reveals his plan to Gordon. He'll buy otherworldly species captured by humans. He specifically wants an elf, whose integrity would make them the perfect pawn. His true goal is to use the elf as a spy and sow chaos among the heroes. Meanwhile, a hero named Hillen Cargill arrives at the Hilderin court, accepting the rescue mission. He kneels before the king, vowing to rescue the princess and bring back the Demon King's head. With a determined glare, the hero declares he will do it all in the name of justice. Back at the slave market, Berge reveals his plan to use the captive elf as a spy. He believes the elf's innocent reputation will make him the perfect tool for sowing chaos. Berge announces he's buying the elf, forcing the terrified mercenary captain to pay for it. Under his menacing glare, the captain nervously agrees while the traitor greedily accepts the gold. Berge orders them to leave, wanting to speak with the elf alone. The captain reluctantly agrees, knowing he'll be held responsible if anything goes wrong. Alone now, Berge approaches the cage where the elf sits chained and defeated. He uses his demonic power to break the elf's restraints, mocking his miserable state. The elf senses his demonic energy, angrily demanding to know what he wants. Berge offers him a chance to get revenge on the humans who enslaved him. The elf scoffs, admitting he can't trust demons any more than he trusts humans. Berge promises him freedom after 50 years of loyal service, claiming he is different. He argues that 50 years is a small price to pay to escape his current humiliation. But the elf refuses, stating that demons are the sworn enemies of the world tree he serves. He questions why a demon would ever seek an elf's help, hitting Berge with a difficult truth. A sinister grin spreads across Berge's face as he decides to change his approach. He summons the sacred Demon King's standards, vowing not to harm the world tree. In return, he demands the elf swear an oath of allegiance on the world tree itself. The elf smirks, calling Berge a strange one but agreeing to his terms. He introduces himself as Granada, vowing to serve the Demon King who sent him. With a confident grin, Berge simply reveals, "I am the Demon King." Granada stares back in complete and utter disbelief. He bursts into laughter, mocking the idea of a Demon King buying a slave so far from his tower. Granada mockingly ups the stakes, promising 100 years of service if Berge is telling the truth. Back on the 5th floor of his tower, Berge leads his new servant through the halls. Sitting on his throne, Berge smugly reminds Granada of his 100-year promise. Granada panics, screaming that it's a scam and complaining about the empty tower. He rants that the 4th floor is just a garden, and there isn't a single monster in sight. The elf yells that Berge will be torn apart by heroes and refuses to work for him. Berge unleashes a crushing wave of demonic energy, reminding him of their contract. Overwhelmed by the raw power, Granada finally accepts that he's a real Demon King. He recalls how even disaster-level monsters in the mountains were too afraid to attack them. Convinced he can get his revenge, Granada kneels and swears loyalty for 100 years. He eagerly awaits his role in the Demon King's grand evil plan. But Berge's first command is simple and unexpected. Prepare me a meal. Granada finds himself in an apron, furiously chopping vegetables for his new master. The princess and her spirits cheerfully enter the kitchen, offering to help him cook. The four of them sit at a massive dining table, sharing a quiet and awkward first meal. Granada nervously asks if the woman is really Hildurin's princess. Berge calmly confirms her identity as Hernan Hildurin. The elf explodes, screaming that Berge is insane for kidnapping the crown princess with no defenses. Berge simply says that's why he bought him, telling him to sit and eat for now. Later, Granada asks if he's supposed to fight heroes here, but Berge says it's game over if they get this far. Berge reveals his true plan. Granada will be his spy, disrupting the human world for him. But first, Berge wants to test his new servant's skills, challenging him to a fight. He sweetens the deal, offering to reduce his contract by 50 years if Granada can win. Granada's eyes light up with fury and determination, vowing to take him on with everything he has. The elf lunges forward, clashing with Berge in a flurry of powerful blows. Berge easily blocks his attacks, impressed that he's using the floor's mana to enhance his strength. Granada boasts that he's no average elf, warning Berge that he picked the wrong opponent. He unleashes his magic, trapping Berge's legs with glowing vines that sprout from the ground. Seeing an opening, Granada charges in to land the final blow and reclaim his freedom. But Berge just smirks, deciding the test is over. A terrifying demonic aura erupts as he reminds the elf who he's truly facing. With a horrifying grin, he promises not to use demonic energy, but will try not to kill him. Granada freezes in pure terror, realizing the fatal mistake he's just made. A massive shockwave erupts from the tower, shaking the entire mountain range. The scene cuts to the Red Hawk mercenaries' headquarters in the city of Horton Walk. The mercenary captain greets Berge with a manic, gold-toothed grin, honored to see him again. Berge offers to hire him for a year, but the other mercenaries whisper in fear. He tosses down a massive bag of gold as a deposit, stunning the entire guild. The mercenaries immediately swear their undying loyalty, but the captain is still wary. Berge orders him to add a new man to his team who will relay his orders. A battered and bruised Granada introduces himself to the shocked mercenaries. The mercenaries stare in disbelief at their new, heavily injured teammate. The group awkwardly welcomes the elf into their ranks, unsure what to make of him. Berge explains that while they look mediocre, they are seasoned veterans of the Urgest region. He knows the only hero who would take Hildurin's call is Cargill, slayer of the Lust King. Berge gives the Red Hawk mercenaries their first official mission. He orders them to investigate Cargill, the hero hired by the kingdom. Back at his tower, Berge reflects that he's left the hero problem to Granada. Now, he declares, it's his turn to get stronger. Demonic energy can enhance the tower or the Demon King, but Berge has sold most of his. His only option for a power boost is a rare item called the Spirit Blossom. The harsh, untouched nature of the Urgest Mountains is the perfect place for them to grow. This dangerous land is a treasure trove of these powerful, refined blossoms. Berge decides to go find some, knowing it's better than nothing for a demon. Gordon warns him it's too risky, as the local monsters will attack at the first sign of weakness. Berge admits finding the blossoms will be hard unless he has an excellent mana detector. Suddenly, a knock echoes through the massive throne room. The princess peeks in with a slime spirit on her head, asking if they're busy. Berge and Gordon are both surprised by her unexpected interruption. Hernan cheers excitedly, thrilled at the prospect of going outside with her spirits. She admits she's been bored and reminds Berge of his promise to let her decorate her floor. He agrees, but internally questions how much more she could possibly decorate the already vibrant space. Hernan beams, thinking she's lucky to have checked on him at just the right moment. Berge tells her to hold on tight as he scoops her up, his demonic wings spreading wide. He launches into the sky, soaring into the golden light with his captive. Hernan's eyes widen in absolute wonder at the breathtaking view. She realizes for the first time just how vast and beautiful the world truly is. Her old life was a repetitive cycle of training and studying she thought would last forever. She excitedly tells Berge she's probably the only person to ever fly over these mountains. Hernan insists he call her by her first name, since they'll be together for some time. Berge immediately reminds her of her place, threatening her with the underground prison. He drops her, ordering her to find the blossoms as she and her spirits wave goodbye. Berge knows her spirits will be far more effective at finding the blossoms than he would be. In an instant, Hernan's voice rings out as she triumphantly yells, "Found it!" The camera focuses on a beautiful, glowing spirit blossom, radiating with pure energy. But it seems they weren't the first to arrive. Berge commands the monsters, descendants of demons, to leave the blossom and go. But the beasts refuse, snarling that they don't listen to demons and will kill him. A wicked grin spreads across his face as he admits Gordon was right. Calling himself foolish for trying to reason with them, he prepares to burn them all to ash. The monsters roar in defiance, charging forward to protect their prize. With a cold glare, Berge unleashes a torrent of pure demonic energy. The blast consumes the battlefield, a terrifying demonic face forming in the purple vortex. His power tears through the monsters, their bodies disintegrating in the violent storm. Two of the beasts spot an opening, charging towards the weak one. Berge turns instantly, a dark orb of energy forming in his hand. He creates a massive shield of swirling darkness, protecting the princess from the attack. Ernan watches in awe, realizing these powerful orcs can't even get near them. She looks up at her captor, finally understanding the power he wields. This, she realizes, is the true, overwhelming power of the Demon King. In moments, the battlefield is silent, littered with the frozen remains of his enemies. Ernan kneels by the glowing hyacinth blossom, marveling at its pure mana. Berge offers her one if she can find more, easily motivating her with a simple reward. But despite her best efforts, they never found another patch of blossoms. They returned to Berge's tower, a solitary fortress in the frozen wasteland. He initially thought kidnapping the princess was a mistake, but now he realizes she might be more useful than he ever imagined. Gordon interrupts his thoughts, announcing a message from Granada has arrived. The elf reports that Hillen Cargill and 32 other heroes have left the capital. They're following the classic hero's path, taking on village quests to level up. Gordon proudly presents several plans he's prepared to disrupt their journey. But Berge instantly dismisses every single one of them with a flick of his wrist. With a sinister grin, he declares they won't be sending any monsters or interruptions. He orders Granada to join the heroes' party and earn their complete trust. Gordon panics, knowing their empty tower can't stop them, but Berge reassures him. He reveals his next plan is to reinforce their defenses with a dwarf. Gordon screams in horror, unable to believe they'd bring a dwarf into their tower. Berge's demonic horns appear as he prepares to explain his unorthodox strategy. He clarifies that they don't need a dwarf, but dwarven magical tools. He asks Gordon to imagine what would happen if dozens of cannons greeted the heroes. His servant realizes the heroes would be completely unprepared for such an attack, but Gordon still shakes his head, unable to accept a plan so far from the standards. He turns to the throne, realizing his master has already left to carry out his plan. Gordon screams in terror, understanding this means another abduction is about to happen. The scene shifts to Wolfner, the massive underground city of the dwarves. Inside, a master craftsman hammers away at his forge, sparks flying everywhere. He is Loger Friedrich, the best dwarven blacksmith in the entire city. The story opens on the magnificent and imposing city of Wolfner, a fortress-like city carved into a mountain, known as the City of Dwarves. A mysterious man named Berje, clad in a black cloak, looks upon the city from a distance. He muses that despite fighting countless dwarves before his regression, this is his first time actually visiting their city. Seeking his objective, Berge arrives at a local tavern, the Midnight Inn. Inside, he speaks with the dwarven innkeeper, placing a few gold coins on the table. He gets straight to the point, stating he's here to commission a weapon and wants to know where to find the most outstanding blacksmith in the city. The innkeeper, a stout dwarf with a gray beard, is amused by Berje's directness, noting that for a human, he knows how to talk business. Berje smirks, replying that he's heard dwarves love money as much as heroes do. The innkeeper concedes the point. The innkeeper gives him directions, explaining that he must head to the inside of the city, where he'll find a huge hole with a lift. He warns that there's a two-step security method to identify intruders, involving an ID check before being taken to the desired floor. With a swift and powerful leap, Berge easily bypasses the city's defenses, undeterred by the security measures. Following the innkeeper's advice, Berge makes his way to the lowest floor and approaches the deepest room, standing before a grand, ornate door. The doors swing open to reveal a massive, fiery forge. Amidst the intense heat and the clang of metal, a lone blacksmith is hard at work, his hammer striking with powerful, rhythmic blows. This is the renowned blacksmith, Loger Friedrich, a master of his craft with a rugged appearance, complete with a large beard and protective goggles. Berge watches intently, impressed. He notes that Loger's display of metallurgy is so masterful, it's as if the mana itself is dancing. He wonders if this truly is the best blacksmith. A sinister smile spreads across Berge's face as his demeanor shifts, revealing his dark intentions. He thinks to himself that now, all he has to do is quietly abduct the blacksmith. Suddenly, Loger slams his hammer down, sending a massive burst of flame and power through the forge, catching Berge completely by surprise. Berge recoils in shock, as he realizes the blacksmith has sensed the small bit of demonic energy he let slip. With a furious expression, Loger leaps into the air, hammer raised high, questioning if Berge could be a demon as he brings his weapon down. The two powers collide in a brilliant explosion of light and force, shaking the very foundations of the workshop. However, the battle is decided in an instant. Berge effortlessly stops Loger's powerful hammer with a single hand. Looking down on the stunned dwarf, he says, "You are a hero." Loger defiantly confirms his identity as a hero, a blacksmith who contains the power of heroes. He roars at the demon, declaring that he will not leave the city of dwarves alive. A wicked grin spreads across Berge's face as he mockingly tells Loger that he's pretty weak for all his talk. He then clarifies, "Also, I'm not a demon." Berge reveals his true, terrifying form, his eyes glowing with red malice. He grabs the choking Loger by the neck, declaring, "I'm a demon king." Drawn by the commotion, a group of dwarven guards armed with axes burst into the workshop, calling out for Loger and asking about the noise. They arrive to a scene of destruction, the forge in ruins and smoke billowing everywhere. To their horror, they realize that Loger is gone. An alarm is raised. There's an intruder who has abducted Loger. The guards order all exits to be blocked, vowing that the culprit couldn't have gotten far. High above, Berge has already escaped to a rooftop, with the unconscious Loger slung over his shoulder. Berge holds the now conscious Loger captive, threatening to kill him in an instant if he makes a sound. The terrified blacksmith, his mind racing for a reason for his abduction, immediately assumes the worst, that the Demon King is here for the dwarven princess. Berge, however, dismisses the idea, stating he's not interested in that. Instead, Berge reveals his true objective. He calmly states that he heard dwarven blacksmiths dig their own underground passages for emergencies. With a cold, commanding gaze, he orders the captive hero, "Guide me." Held captive, Loger trembles, his mind racing. He can only assume that this powerful demon king must be here for the princess. He curses his fate. His internal monologue reveals his greatest fear. The very reason he lived a quiet life was to avoid this exact scenario, as he is terrified of demon kings. A note appears, labeling the dwarven hero Loger as weak. Sensing his captive's unwillingness, Berge smirks. He proposes a twisted alternative. What if he kidnaps the princess instead and simply lets Loger go? Berge elaborates on his cruel threat, painting a vivid picture for Loger. He imagines a rumor spreading through the kingdom. The selfish hero sold the princess to beg for his life. He asks Loger how the other dwarves would see him then. Loger is horrified by the thought, screaming in protest. He curses Berge, calling him a vile and evil creature for suggesting such a thing. Panic sets in as Loger realizes his predicament. Everyone already knows he's weak in a fight. They would definitely believe such a rumor. He imagines being branded a traitor and tortured for the rest of his life. Berge presses his advantage, giving Loger a choice. Is he going to sell the princess out, or is he going to come with him on his own 2 feet? Loger's thoughts betray his desperation. He doesn't want to be tortured. Seeing the dwarf break, Berge offers a sliver of hope. He promises to guarantee Loger's safety if he helps, making a vow on the Demon King's standards. Loger is stunned. He knows that the Demon King's standards are a sacred code, a faith that all Demon Kings worship. He reasons that there is no way Berge would break a vow made on it. Sweating and under immense pressure, Loger grits his teeth and makes his choice. With a sudden, almost manic brightness, Loger agrees to lead the way to the underground passage. Berge looks on, disgusted by the dwarf's sycophantic expression. Meanwhile, back at the now desecrated workshop, the dwarven guards stand assembled, confirming that Loger is indeed absent. A figure with striking pink hair and determined eyes mutters Loger's name with concern. This is the formidable princess of the dwarven kingdom, Louise Verft. She stands before an unfinished blade, angrily demanding to know where Loger has gone in the middle of making her weapon. When one of her guards suggests he might have been kidnapped, she explodes with rage. She shouts that he's a hero too, so how could it make any sense for him to be kidnapped? Louise furiously orders her guards to shut up and find the kidnapper, demanding they bring him to her immediately. Her fury crescendos as she threatens her guards with a grim fate. If they don't find him, she's going to pull all of their heads out. The scene shifts to a dark, narrow cave known as Loger's Secret Passage. Loger leads the way with a lantern, with Berger following close behind. Berger taunts Loger from behind, complaining about the view. The nervous dwarf explains that the passage is narrow and they're almost there. Berger impatiently urges him to move faster. They finally emerge from the tunnel onto a cliff edge, overlooking a long bridge leading to a foreboding tower. Loger collapses, panting with exhaustion. Believing he has fulfilled his part of the bargain, Loger gets to his feet and declares that his role ends here. He tells the Demon King he's on his own and turns to leave. But Berger isn't finished. In his demonic form, he asks what nonsense Loger is talking about. Loger, shocked, reminds him of his vow on the Demon King's standards to guarantee his safety. Berger's face twists into a malicious sneer as he reveals his deception. "Oh, you mean that garbage?" he scoffs. "I don't give a damn about it." Loger stares in utter disbelief and horror, realizing he's been completely betrayed. As Berger's shadowy hand looms over him, a wave of instant regret washes over Loger. He realizes the depth of his miscalculation, thinking he should have just sold out the princess to begin with. Terrified for his life, Loger makes a final, desperate plea. He insists that he is quite useful, boasting that no one can match his skill in metallurgy and that he can craft any weapon Berger desires. The Demon King pauses, intrigued by the irony of a so-called hero willing to work for him. Continuing his desperate groveling, Loger insists there's nothing to be suspicious about and tells Berger to use him for his convenience. He even offers to be a spy, declaring that surviving is his first priority. Berger accepts the pledge, stating that if Loger is willing to swear allegiance, he will have his mercy. Loger immediately prostrates himself, loudly thanking the Demon King and cheering for him. However, Loger's inner thoughts reveal his true intentions. He internally seethes, "You dumb demon, did you really think I'd obey you?" He scoffs at the idea of being a spy, vowing that the moment he gets out of here, Berger is done for. His internal furious monologue continues as he laughs maniacally. He vows that the Demon King will regret letting him go for the rest of his life and tells him to prepare himself. The scene suddenly shifts to a surprisingly idyllic and peaceful location, the 4th floor of Berger's tower. Loger finds himself standing in a beautiful garden, accompanied by several of Berger's subordinates who are talking amongst themselves. One of the subordinates, a tall man with long black hair and pointed ears, cries out in shock, exclaiming that the Demon King actually brought a dwarf, and a hero dwarf no less. Berger coldly tells him to be silent. Another subordinate with green hair appears on a holographic screen, attempting to give a report, but he too is stunned by the dwarf's presence. Berger cuts him off, telling him to do his report later. A young woman with long blonde hair looks at Loger with curiosity, asking if he came to save her, before realizing that's probably not the case. Loger, despite his situation, appears momentarily flustered. Finally able to speak, Loger confronts Berger, asking why he's here after being told he'd be let go. Berger denies saying that. Loger protests that Berger promised him mercy, but Berger counters that letting him live is mercy. Berger bluntly explains the situation. He knocked Loger out and carried him here. He states it was only the natural course of action, since he didn't know what the dwarf might do if left to his own devices. The sheer absurdity of his situation finally breaks Loger. He stares blankly for a moment before bursting into a fit of crazed, uncontrollable laughter. Loger stands in the middle of the beautiful garden, surrounded by the Demon King's confused subordinates, laughing his head off as he has a complete mental breakdown. Berger looks on with a smug, sinister grin. He mockingly asks the hysterical dwarf, "Are you that happy to be my subordinate?" Still caught in his fit of deranged laughter, Loger enthusiastically agrees. "Yes, of course," he chokes out. "I'm very happy." Pleased with this response, Berger compliments Loger on his great mindset. He then announces that it's time for his mission. The defeated Loger bows his head, nervously asking what it is. With a final, chilling smile, Berge reveals Loger's grand and terrible purpose. He is to install a large number of cannons on the first floor of the tower with the ultimate goal of destroying the heroes. The story continues at the Urgest Heroes Journey Preparation Station, a grand and opulent establishment under a starry night sky. Inside, Berge's elf-like subordinate reports on the latest rumors circulating among the heroes. Apparently, word has spread that the new Demon King can use black flames, prompting the heroes to start equipping fire-resistant gear. He continues, mentioning another rumor, that the reason the Demon King isn't sending out demonic beasts is because he's scared. Looking at a projection of Berge, the subordinate notes that the heroes haven't lost their killing intent yet. Berge smirks, revealing his true strategy. By not providing them with challenges, the heroes will gain nothing, neither honor nor wealth. Eventually, they will lose interest, and their growth will stagnate. He calls it a battle against time, and instructs his subordinate to continue monitoring the heroes. The subordinate acknowledges the order. The subordinate muses on the Demon King's plan. By not sending out monsters, he's actively weakening the heroes. He marvels at this Demon King's deep understanding of human nature. Wondering if there has ever been a Demon King like this before, the subordinate walks back into the bustling hall, thinking to himself that he's glad he is not the Demon King's enemy. The scene shifts. Berge addresses the dwarven blacksmith, Loger. He lays down a single, crucial restriction. Loger can remodel the first floor however he wants, but he cannot use any mana stones. Loger is aghast. A trap without a mana stone would never work on the heroes, but Berge coldly tells him that's his problem to solve. Berge explains the logic. Heroes are blessed by the dimension, giving them outstanding energy-sensing abilities. Any trap made with mana stones would be detected before it could even activate. With a menacing look and dark energy swirling in his hand, Berge threatens Loger, stating that he brought the best blacksmith with him. If he made a mistake, he'll simply have to bring someone else. Panicked, Loger suddenly has a flash of inspiration. He claims to have invented a magical tool that can hide the traces of mana. He excitedly says it takes 3 years to create, but he has one in his workshop right now. Berge's expression darkens, seeing right through the lie. He coldly asks if that's the only excuse Loger could think of to escape. Berge says he'll trust him, but as he speaks, he snaps something around Loger's neck. The startled blacksmith asks what he just put on him. With a sinister grin, Berge explains it's a magical tool that can separate Loger's head from his body, and he can activate it with a single hand. The blacksmith lets out a cry of terror. Berge then presents another magical tool, one that will make it so people can't see his face. He warns that if Loger takes it off, he'll consider it an escape attempt. Terrified, Loger promises he'll never take it off. And so, Berge and the now-disguised Loger traveled across several kingdoms to gather supplies and various mana-type materials for their plan. It took them about a month to gather everything needed. Berge, cloaked and anonymous, is seen buying a glowing red book while Loger stands by his side, storing the materials in a subspace pocket. After their long journey, they finally return to the dwarven kingdom of Wolfner. Berge stands imposingly as Loger trembles before the entrance to the fortified city. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a guard uses a shield to desperately hold back a wooden barricade that is being smashed from the other side. The scene cuts to the furious Princess Louise. She screams in rage, exclaiming that it's been a month and a half and they still haven't found him. She demands to know how incompetent her guards are and how much longer she must wait. From a balcony overlooking her soldiers, one of them reports that the blacksmiths have dug too many tunnels, and while they are investigating each one, it's highly likely the kidnappers have already left. "Of course they have!" Princess Louise shrieks, infuriated. "They'd be stupid to still be here. He's been kidnapped." Grabbing one of her generals, she gives him a final, deadly warning. She will give them exactly 2 more weeks to find the kidnapper. If they fail, he will die. The terrified general hastily promises he'll find them. "Now go!" she commands, her voice resonating with power as she shoves the general away. "Fill all the tunnels the blacksmiths created." As her soldiers quickly scramble to obey, the princess's thoughts drift to her true, hidden motives. As her soldiers carry out her orders, Princess Louise thinks to herself about her true motives. It's not just about the blacksmith, but what he represents. She looks down at an unfinished blade, one made by Loger before he was taken. This, she laments, should have been her weapon. A look of intense, possessive fury crosses her face. She needs Loger alive, but only for one reason. He cannot die until he has completed her weapon. The scene shifts to Loger, his face recognition interfering mask still active as he works within a hidden tunnel. Suddenly, Princess Louise appears at the tunnel's entrance. She recognizes the unique structure, realizing it's one of his secret tunnels that only he would know about, which means the person inside must be... She calls out his name, confirming her suspicion. She has found Loger. Loger is stunned and terrified. Despite the mask, the princess has found him. The princess cracks her knuckles, a sinister smile on her face. Ha 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 ha, what? You bastard. You came back all right, she says, her voice dripping with menace. Her smile widens into a terrifyingly sweet expression as she asks if he went into hiding because he didn't want to make her weapon. Just as the princess closes in, Berger appears from the shadows. He calmly states that there must be a misunderstanding, as he is now Loger's master. Louise scoffs at the idea of a misunderstanding. She grabs Loger, insulting him and declaring that from now on, he is her slave and will make her weapons for the rest of his life. But before that, she proclaims she's going to punish him for running away. As her fist glows with power, the terrified Loger can only shriek and beg for her to spare him. Before her punch can land, a blast of dark energy erupts from the side, blocking her path and throwing her back. Landing on her feet, surrounded by crackling energy, a furious Princess Louise turns to the intruder and demands to know who he is. Ignoring her for a moment, Berger orders Loger to get the equipment they need. Loger immediately scrambles off to follow the command. The princess's rage intensifies. "Who the hell are you?" she screams. "Why are you helping that despicable dwarf?" She fires back, rejecting his claim entirely. "Nonsense! He's my slave! He's going to make my weapons forever!" Louise lunges at Berger, yelling, "Who are you to take him from me?" A flurry of blows ensues, with Berger's dark energy clashing against her fierce, light-infused attacks. Berger skillfully parries and deflects her relentless assault, his cape whipping around him as he counters her strikes. In the midst of their high-speed battle, the princess manages to catch Berger's arm, her grip tightening with surprising strength. Using her grip for leverage, she swings around and unleashes a powerful energy-charged punch, shouting that it's Loger's turn next. However, Berger is faster. He deflects her punch and in one swift motion counters by grabbing her by the head, stopping her attack cold. With the princess caught in his grasp, Berger holds her firmly, neutralizing her immediate threat. Caught in his grip, Berger instantly recognizes his opponent, Louise Verft, the Dwarven Kingdom's second princess. He knows that despite not being a designated hero, she is exceptionally strong. His mind flashes back to the time before his regression. Back then, she eventually became one of the strongest beings in existence, far more powerful than she is now. A true monster in the making. Berger weighs his options. He could kill her now, but it would expend all his demonic energy. Since he's already used some of his power, she knows he's a demon king. If he goes all out, her soldiers will arrive and he might be captured. The situation is incredibly annoying. While the two powerhouses are locked in combat, Loger frantically works in the background, rapidly dismantling a complex piece of machinery. Berger dodges another attack and calls out to Loger, asking if he has everything yet. The panicked blacksmith replies that he's still in the process of dismantling it. The camera pans out to reveal the enormous device, Mana's Phantom, a creation by Loger Friedrich himself, with the unique ability to hide all traces of mana. Losing his patience, Berger's eyes glow with menace. "Do you want to die?" he snarls. "Finish it within a minute." Loger screams back that he'll go as fast as he can. Louise breaks free and charges again, roaring, "Who said you can do that?" Berger warns Loger that if it comes to it, he'll be left behind. The threat works, and Loger promises to hurry. Berger braces for the next onslaught, knowing he can't last long without his true strength and demonic energy. His current regressed state is a severe handicap. The battle resumes in a blinding clash of light and shadow as Louise's raw power collides with Berger's dark energy once more. Breaking through his defenses, Louise screams that he won't leave this place alive. Then her rage turns to Loger, and she vows to break his leg so he can never escape again. With a smirk, Berger taunts her, saying she sounds just like a demon king herself. He tells the second princess to give it up, declaring that he's taking both the blacksmith and the equipment. Just in the nick of time, Loger shouts, "I've dismantled it!" as the Mana's phantom powers down with a flash of light. Seeing the dismantled machine, Luis explodes with fury. "Loger, you motherfucker! You came back to take that? You think I'm that easy?" In her blind rage, the princess leaves herself exposed. Berger's sharp eyes immediately spot the opening. He doesn't hesitate, landing a powerful kick that sends the princess spiraling to the ground. With the princess temporarily down, Berger yells for Loger to get out of the way as he activates his subspace pocket to absorb the dismantled parts of the Mana's phantom. But Loger sees his own opportunity. While Berger is occupied with storing the equipment, the clever blacksmith dashes towards a secret passage, pressing a hidden switch on the wall. Louise recovers quickly, roaring that a simple attack like that is useless against her as she rises from the ground. She stands amidst the rubble, looking at the empty space where her prize, the Mana's phantom, used to be. Just then, her soldiers finally arrive. "Princess, what's going on?" one asks. She whirls on them, screaming, "You slowpokes! Are you going to get here after I'm dead?" Before they can react, a massive explosion rips through the cavern. It's Loger. He's escaped through the tunnel and blocked it behind him. "Loger ran away!" she screams. "Chase him!" Staring at the now impassable smoking tunnel entrance, her rage gives way to a moment of quiet disbelief. Did he block the tunnel? Did he really not want to make my weapon that badly? But her shock quickly morphs into something far more sinister. A slow, predatory grin spreads across her face. "How interesting," she whispers. "How very interesting, Loger." Her quiet amusement erupts into manic laughter. "Fine. I'll personally search for you, even if I have to scour the entire continent." Her face contorts with rage and obsession. "I'll definitely make you regret what you did today, Loger." The scene opens on the first floor of Berger's tower. In the center stands a large, intricate magical device, humming with latent power. This is the Mana's phantom. An attendant and Princess Hernan look up at the massive device in awe. "Wow, it's huge! Demon King, what on earth is this?" the attendant asks. From below, the Demon King, Berger, explains with a stern look, "It's a magical tool necessary to stop the heroes." The creator of the device, the dwarf Loger, proudly reports to Berger, "Installation of Mana's phantom is complete." Berger, seeing the report, gives a swift command. "That was fast. Activate it." Loger bows. "Yes, Demon King." A dark aura envelops Berger as he glares at the dwarf. "After all the trouble we went through to bring it here, it better be worth it," he threatens. Loger breaks out in a cold sweat, stammering, "Oh, of course, activating." As Loger activates the device, the core of the Mana's phantom begins to spin, creating a swirling vortex of blue energy. A brilliant flash of light erupts from the machine, bathing the entire hall in its intense blue glow as everyone looks on. A system window appears before Berger. "The tower recognizes Mana's phantom," it reads. "Synchronization with the tower requires 10,000 PT. Would you like to synchronize?" Berger stares at the message, pondering the cost. "Synchronize with the tower, and a function like that?" With a determined expression, Berger declares, "I'll confirm it myself." He presses yes, and a system message confirms the cost. His points drop from 11,182 to a mere 1,182. The synchronization is a success. New system messages announce that Mana's phantom now recognizes Demon King Berger as its master. More shockingly, the power source has been completely converted from mana to demonic energy. Berger glares at a terrified Loger. "Loger!" The dwarf frantically waves his hands. I didn't do it. I never imagined merging with a tower was possible." He marvels at the outcome. "And the power source changed from mana to demonic energy? This is the discovery of the century, Demon King. Even its creator doesn't know?" To test the tower's new properties, Berger turns to Princess Hernan. "Princess, try using any spell." Hernan looks surprised. "Any?" "Yes, whatever you want," Berger confirms, standing with his arms open. "Okay, whatever I want it is." With a cheerful grin, Princess Ernan unleashes a chaotic storm of elemental magic, mixing fire, ice, and lightning into a swirling vortex. Watching from a doorway, Berger yells, "Stop it!" He thinks to himself that normally, a spell of that caliber inside the tower should be detectable, even to the outside. And yet, the scene shifts to Barry standing alone in a vast snowy landscape, looking towards the spot where his tower should be. He stares intently at the empty space. I can't see anything inside. In fact, I can't sense a single presence, he realizes. Is this the power of a tower synchronized with Mana's phantom? If I manipulate the tower in this state, Berger wonders, placing his hand on the snowy ground and channeling his dark purple energy into it. As his demonic power flows, he focuses his intent on his newfound ability, thinking to himself, the tower. Vanished! In the snowy landscape where the tower once stood, there is now only empty space. Berger stands alone, his demonic energy still swirling around him. With another surge of his power, the massive dark tower reappears, materializing out of thin air surrounded by an aura of demonic energy. Berger looks at his hand, a look of profound realization on his face. So I can hide the tower as I wish? He then notices the cost. It guzzles demonic energy points, though, as the system shows his points dropping from 182 to 137. Using it right now is difficult, he concedes with a sly grin, but it'll be useful going forward. Back inside, Loger is practically hyperventilating with excitement. Just a tiny bit, Demon King. Just a teeny bit. Can I tear both the device and the tower up? Can I examine them? I've never heard or seen anything like this in all of history, past or present. Please allow me to examine this historic discovery. Loger pleads, practically bowing to the device. Berger thinks to himself, he sounds like a demon itching for a fight. Berger seizes the opportunity to leverage Loger's fervent curiosity. He makes a deal. Fine, if your trap wipes out the heroes on the first floor, I'll let you do whatever you want. Loger's eyes blaze with newfound purpose, his scientific passion now weaponized. I'll definitely sweep those crafty heroes away, he vows, fully committed. With Loger energized and running off to build his masterpiece of a trap, Berger smoothly pivots to his next chess piece. He turns to Princess Ernan with a calm but commanding tone. Princess, I have a proposal for you too. Face the heroes who come up to the fourth floor. Ernan is taken aback by the sudden responsibility, her face a mask of disbelief as she questions the order. Ernan questions his proposal. You want me to fight the heroes? But I'm a princess. Berger smirks, reminding her. You're also a genius spiritist who doesn't want to return to her own royal palace. Berger has a moment of doubt, thinking to himself, maybe it's unreasonable to assign her a role like this. She is an innocent princess who doesn't know how the world works, so betraying her own kind might be... But while Berger hesitates, Ernan is already deep in thought, plotting her battle strategy. What do I fight with? Fire? Water? No, rock? She wonders, summoning small elemental spirits in her hands. Berger clarifies the plan for her. You only need to fluster the heroes. Just reveal to them that you're an enemy. If it goes well, I'll grant you what you want again. Okay, I'll look for an opening, Ernan agrees, her eyes sparkling. But I have a condition. Introduce me as the Demon King's subordinate, not as a princess. Berger looks momentarily surprised, but accepts her terms. Fine, I agree. That much is easy to do. Beside him, a tiny chibi version of Ernan cheers. Yay! Feeling confident, Ernan strikes a pose. How am I supposed to fight? Should I use my looks to seduce them? I'm confident in that. Berger bluntly replies, no. Just do what I told you. Later, the scene shifts to a wide hall where Berger sits on his throne, his attendant standing silently by his side. Interacting with holographic displays, Berger finalizes his strategy. With this, preparations are more or less complete. We'll reduce the number of heroes with mass mana cannons on the first floor, while on the fourth floor, we finish them off using the princess as bait. He looks at an image of the massive hero army approaching. Still, it's far from enough, he muses. As things are, I can't even cut down half the heroes, who number over 200. Do I just have to become stronger myself in the end? Berge wonders, examining an ice hyacinth spirit blossom that has been contaminated by demonic energy. He realizes these flowers boost his power effectively and concludes, I'll have to gather more. The scene changes to the snowy mountains outside the tower. Princess, we're heading out, Berge calls out. A small Chibi Hernan cheers woohoo in the background. He and Hernan wander the barren, snowy landscape in search of more spirit blossoms. There's none here either, Berge says, disappointed, as Hernan's small spirits search fruitlessly. Growing annoyed, Berge comments, This is already our third try. Maybe we just got lucky last time. He glares at the little spirits, calling them useless. Hernan finds the situation strange. Suddenly, a massive fur-covered hand lands in the snow before them, casting a shadow over a startled Hernan. A close-up reveals the owner of the hand, a powerful blue-skinned orc with piercing red eyes, long white braids, and prominent tusks. Berge's hand crackles with red demonic energy as he prepares for a fight. Pule orcs again, he says with disdain. I've gotten sick of you. But the orc chieftain unexpectedly kneels in the snow. I, Krutu, the chieftain of the Blue Frost tribe, greet you, Demon King, he declares, bowing his head. Please accept our tribe as your kin. Behind Krutu, his entire tribe kneels in unison, bowing deeply in the snow as they echo their chieftain's plea to be accepted by the Demon King. Berge looks down at the kneeling orcs, taken aback by the request. You want me to take you in as my kin? Krutu explains their tribe's history. Our ancestors are demons who betrayed the demon realm. Since we bear that original sin, please grant us the honor of serving you, Demon King. Berge's energy flares as he cuts through the pleasantries. Enough. Save the sweet talk. In the end, you just want to become stronger by becoming a Demon King's kin. After all, you are better suited for demonic energy than spirit blossoms. Krutu, realizing he's been completely seen through, agrees. To think you've seen through everything. There's no point in hesitating then. Bring it. On cue, one of the orcs brings forth a chest and opens it, revealing 3 perfect, glowing spirit blossoms of different elements. Berge looks from the flowers to Krutu, a slow smile of understanding spreading across his face. So this is why we couldn't find them. He assesses the chieftain before him. You've prepared fluent speech and even know the art of negotiation. His eyes narrow slightly, intrigued. You're unusually intelligent for a Pule orc. Krutu explains, to survive in this harsh land, our tribe valued wisdom more than strength. Berge looks at the offering, then back at the kneeling orcs and finishes the thought. And you came looking for me to become stronger because you lack strength? A slow smile spreads across Berge's face as he considers the orc's philosophy. Wisdom over strength, huh? His decision made, Berge's demonic power flares to life, a complex magical sigil appearing before him. I like you, he declares with a wicked grin. Very well. However, he adds a condition that sends a shockwave through Krutu. But I'll only take you in, Krutu. Berge gives his first command to his new subordinate, a glowing red emblem of a dragon appearing on Krutu's chest. Roam the snowfields and grow your tribe for my sake. Wait for my orders, Berge continues, as Krutu feels the power coursing through him. I will reward you with something greater than strength. Berge makes a grand promise. Your tribe shall be eternal. A status window confirms it. Krutu of the Pule orc race is now officially the Demon King's kin. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Krutu bows deeply. Thank you. I will devote our loyalty to you, Demon King. Behind him, the entire Pule orc tribe roars in unison, pledging their fealty to their new master. We will devote our loyalty. The scene shifts, showing the imposing black tower standing amidst the snowy Ergest mountains. Beria's full force has now been assembled. Outside the tower, the newly formed Pule orc Legion stands guard, a formidable army assembled in the snow. On the first floor, Loger stands proudly in the center of his masterpiece, a hall packed with 60 mana cannons all aimed at the entrance. Meanwhile, on the 4th floor, Ernan Hilderan awaits her turn, surrounded by her elemental spirits in a beautiful, serene garden. Watching over them all from his throne room, Berger observes his pieces on holographic screens. Now, all the pieces are in place. His eyes burn with a cold fire, a deep-seated hatred from a life before. Come, heroes. I'll repay you for humiliating me in my previous life. The hero, Hillen, smiles confidently at his companion. We've finally arrived, Granada. The elf with green hair, Granada, looks ahead and confirms, We have, Hillen. Before them lies a vast, snow-covered landscape. The party of heroes gazes up at the imposing Urgist Mountains, the final destination of their long journey. They soon arrive at the Holton Walk, a grand fortress city lit up against the night sky, which serves as the final preparation station for the heroes' party before they face the Demon King. Inside, a magnificent banquet is held in their honor. The fortress master, an old man with a white beard, raises a glass to Hillen. You flatter me, hero. I'm glad I can remain with you on a page of history. The fortress master then turns to Hillen, suggesting he give a speech to raise the party's morale. Hillen seems hesitant, but the master insists, telling him that everyone is waiting. Without waiting for a final answer, the fortress master turns to the crowd with a booming voice and a huge smile, calling for their attention as Hillen is about to speak. Hillen steps forward, clearing his throat. A slight, confident smile plays on his lips as he prepares to address the assembly. He begins his speech, addressing the crowd of heroes, nobles, knights, and mercenaries. He declares that their long journey has finally reached its final stretch. The crowd breaks into laughter as one of the members jokes that the Demon King must be scared, as he hasn't sent a single monster after them. But he adds that they must not let their guard down. A hand raises a glass of wine in a toast. Tomorrow is the day they will make the foolish Demon King pay for his crime of kidnapping Princess Ernan of the Hilderan Kingdom. Caught up in the moment, Hillen's voice rings out, rallying the troops. He shouts, asking who they are and who the true master of this world is, vowing to remind their foe of these facts. The entire hall erupts in a thunderous cheer. The crowd, full of energy and confidence, raises their fists and shouts, "For justice!" in unison. As the party eats and drinks, an observer notes that, just as the Demon King expected, the number of heroes didn't increase. However, they didn't decrease either. This stability is credited to Hillen's immense popularity. It was his charisma that secured support from the merchant groups and soothed the nerves of mercenaries who might have otherwise deserted. But Granada watches the celebration with a grim expression. He thinks to himself that the tower was completely empty the last time he saw it. A dark thought crosses his mind. What if he just attacked the overconfident heroes right now? He immediately recoils in horror at his own thoughts, shaking his head. He tells himself that the subjugation succeeding is actually good for him, as it means he will finally be freed. Clutching his head, Granada tries to get a grip. He decides to step outside for some fresh air and to make his report to him. Outside on a balcony, Granada speaks into a glowing communication device. He reports that they have arrived at Holton and will climb the mountains tomorrow. A voice from the device responds, telling him not to make contact again after he leaves. The face of a mysterious, dark-haired man appears on the screen. He gives Granada several warnings. Watch the snow when climbing the mountains. Don't let his guard down at night. And lastly, when the heroes open the tower, he must stand far from it. Granada is stunned by the cryptic warning, but before he can ask what it means, the communication device clicks off. Suddenly, Hillen appears behind him, making him jump. Hillen asks what he's doing out here all by himself. A flustered Granada stammers that he's just getting some fresh air. Hillen offers him a drink, noting that it's a fruit wine that elves like. After a moment of hesitation, Granada quietly accepts the offer with a simple, "Thank you." Hillen observes that Granada looks like he has something on his mind and asks if he can actually subdue the Demon King. "Are you nervous too, Granada?" he asks with a smile. Granada admits that he is. To Granada's shock, Hillen's confident mask slips. Reflected in the red wine, the hero's face looks vulnerable as he admits, "To be honest, I don't really know either." They both look out at the moonlit mountains as Hillen confesses his deep-seated fears. He explains that even though everyone trusts him, a raid on a Demon King's tower is always hellish, and not once has it ever gone smoothly. Trying to comfort him, Granada reminds Hillen of his past victory. But didn't you kill the Demon King of Lust and absorb his power? Compared to him, a new Demon King should be a piece of cake. Granada's curiosity gets the better of him. Come to think of it, nobody knows how you killed the Demon King of Lust. Please tell me your heroic tale, he asks with a chuckle. Hillen laughs it off, a radiant light seemingly shining around him. He humbly replies that his victory was only possible because he had brave comrades, like Granada, who were always at the front lines taking care of the monsters. Putting a reassuring hand on Granada's shoulder, Hillen's confidence returns. I'll lead the way, so you protect my flank. If we combine our strength, I'm sure we'll win. A faint, knowing smile appears on Granada's face as he looks away. Seemingly convinced by Hillen's words, he agrees. Then I'll do just that. Hillen turns to lead them back to the banquet hall. Now let's go back inside. The fortress master wants to hear your adventure stories, he says, and the two walk back towards the party. But as he walks away, Hillen's face twists into a cunning, manipulative smirk. His inner thoughts reveal his true nature. Yes, I joined forces with brave comrades. Please take care of me again this time. Granada the elf. The scene shifts to the next morning. The sun rises over the fortress city of Holton Walk, illuminating the start of a fateful day. The grand march of the heroes begins. A massive crowd has gathered to cheer them on, shouting the names of the heroes as they depart. Long live Hillen Cargill and long live Granada! The army, a long column of soldiers, makes its way into the Urgest Mountains Gorge, a massive icy canyon carved between towering snow-covered peaks. Among the marching soldiers, spirits are high. One says he was worried about coming to the mountains, but it's nothing special. Another agrees, noting the clear weather and lack of snow, confident they'll reach the tower without any trouble. Another group of soldiers jokes about the lack of enemies. They said disaster-class monsters were everywhere. Are they hibernating or something? One laughs. Another chimes in. With Hillen here, even the monsters must be scared. As the soldier continues to grin smugly, a mysterious purple slime suddenly drips down from above, landing right on his forehead. The soldier's smile vanishes, replaced by a look of pure confusion. He stares at the purple goo dripping down his face and wonders, what is this? His confusion turns to sheer terror as he looks up. The rocky cliffs of the gorge are swarming with monstrous ghouls. He screams, horrified by their unnatural size. The hero's vanguard immediately prepares for battle. Hillen draws his sword, a calm and determined look on his face. They've finally shown themselves, he declares, ordering all units into battle formation. The giant ghouls begin to descend upon the army. Hillen commands his troops not to panic and to protect their comrades. He orders the knights to cover the mages as they pull back, reminding them the gorge isn't long. A soldier cries out a warning, Hillen, a frost giant has appeared at the front. Faced with this new, overwhelming threat, Hillen immediately shouts for everyone to fall back. Looming at the end of the gorge is a terrifying sight. A colossal frost giant, a skeletal monstrosity of bone and ice, its empty eye sockets glowing with red light. Hillen turns to his comrade Wharton and gives an order. While I deal with the frost giant, all of you get out of the gorge. Wharton is shocked, but Hillen insists it won't be a problem. Without another word, Hillen charges forward alone, his blue cape billowing behind him as he runs to face the colossal frost giant head-on. As he runs, a confident smirk appears on his face. He thinks to himself, a frost giant can't possibly be stronger than the Demon King of Lust. Hillen leaps into the air, his sword crackling with energy as he flies towards the giant, preparing to strike the massive creature. The hero lands powerfully, cracking the ground beneath him. He gathers his energy, his sword glowing with a brilliant blue light, ready to unleash a devastating attack. He thrusts his sword forward, sending a powerful blast of energy that smashes into the frost giant's skeletal arm, causing it to shatter into pieces. The frost giant stumbles back from the force of the blow, its skeletal body cracking under the strain of Hillen's powerful magic. Hillen doesn't let up, his eyes fixed on his target. He gathers his energy again, his body and sword glowing with an intense blue light as he prepares to finish the job. He unleashes a final devastating attack. A massive wave of energy completely envelops the frost giant, shattering its entire body into 1,000,000 shards of ice and bone. With the path momentarily cleared, Hillen turns back to his trapped comrades and screams at the top of his lungs, "Now! Everybody! Run!" The soldiers don't hesitate. They scramble to their feet and begin a desperate retreat, yelling that the path is blocked and they need to hurry while they still have the chance. But as the frost giant crumbles, a sinister, knowing smile appears on its skeletal face, its eyes glowing with a final, ominous orange light. The giant's body then explodes in a massive blast, causing the gorge walls to crumble and completely block the path, trapping the hero's army further up the mountain. Further up the snowy pass, the surviving members of the vanguard try to catch their breath, exhausted and terrified from the battle. One soldier exclaims that the place is insane, facing dozens of ghouls and a giant. Another notes that casualties were relatively low, admitting that if it weren't for Hillen, the damage would have been much worse. Watching Hillen in the distance, the soldiers' faith is renewed. They marvel at his power, wondering if he's as strong as a demon king himself, and conclude that if they just trust in him, they'll have nothing to worry about. Granada looks on, sweating and exhausted. He listens to the soldiers' blind faith, his own mind a storm of doubt and newfound respect. He thinks to himself, seriously, if it's Hillen. His thought is completed as he watches Hillen stand victorious. He might actually defeat that demon king. For a moment, even Granada is convinced by the hero's overwhelming power. But their brief moment of respite is shattered as a new threat appears on the ridge above them. A line of huge, brutish warriors stands silhouetted against the sky, looking down on the trapped heroes. There's no time to rest. Granada recognizes the new enemies. Pule orcs. Hillen confirms his suspicion, sensing demonic energy and identifying them as the Demon King's subordinates. The leader of the orcs, Krutu, a massive blue-skinned warrior with a horned helm, greets them with a deep, menacing voice. "Welcome to Ergest, foolish heroes." Granada scoffs, believing them to be easy opponents, but as he prepares to fight, a deep rumbling sound echoes through the gorge. He stops, a flicker of unease on his face. "Wait, Hillen, this sound..." The mysterious man's warning from the previous night flashes through Granada's mind, his voice echoing with chilling clarity. "Watch the snow." The pieces of the puzzle click into place. A look of dawning horror spreads across Granada's face as he realizes the true meaning of the cryptic warning. Don't tell me. That warning meant... The scene cuts to the orc chieftain Krutu, a cruel glint in his eye as he thinks, "Not a single one of you." And then to the demon king Berger, sitting on his distant throne, a sinister smile spreading across his face as he completes the thought. We'll reach the tower. High above the trapped army, a crack appears in the snow-packed mountain peak. The heroes can only look up in terror as the rumbling grows louder. Granada's face contorts in pure panic and disbelief as he comprehends the scale of the trap. How the hell am I supposed to watch out for this? The entire mountainside gives way, sending a colossal wave of snow crashing down into the gorge. It's an avalanche, and the heroes are directly in its path. Granada can only scream in fury, "Demon King, you crazy bastard!" Overwhelmed by absolute terror and helplessness, Granada turns and screams to the doomed army, a final desperate command, "Run, all of you!" In his throne room, the Demon King, Berger, is in deep thought, reviewing information on holographic panels. He seems to be meticulously planning his next move. A smug smile spreads across Berger's face as he addresses the heroes from afar, saying, "Once again, welcome, heroes." His smile turns into a malicious grin as he reveals his true intentions. "This time, I will hunt you all down." One of his screens shows a hero screaming in agony. Berger recalls the beginning of his master plan, a strategy he had laid out in the form of 3 warnings given to the hero's companion, Granada. His thoughts drift to the first of his warnings. The first trap he had set for the heroes was simple: the snow. And just as planned, the heroes were caught in a massive avalanche triggered by Pule orcs. The vast army was scattered and swept away with many casualties. Amidst the chaos, the hero Hillen Cargill tries to rally his remaining troops, shouting that they will set up camp to look for the others. Behind him, the elf Granada looks on with concern. Berge continues his recollection, remembering his second warning, never to let his guard down at night. The silhouettes of fierce monsters loom in his mind. As night falls, the hero's camp is relentlessly attacked. Frost giants and ghouls, driven by the pool orcs, descend upon them, forcing the exhausted heroes into yet another battle. Granada clenches his fist in frustration, cursing the Demon King for the seemingly endless and calculated attacks that are wearing them down. Berge smirks, fully aware of their suffering. He had created a perfect repeating pattern, an avalanche by day and a horde of monsters by night. It was only a matter of time before they broke. 3 days after entering the Urgist Mountains, the result of Berge's plan is clear. The hero's head count has plummeted from 511 to 256. Having finally reached the summit, a weary Hillen can only ask why this is happening. But their goal, the Demon King's tower, is nowhere in sight. They stand on the empty, snowy peak, confused and demoralized. Hillen's frustration explodes into rage. He screams at the empty sky, questioning why the tower isn't in an obvious location, completely unaware that this too is part of the Demon King's psychological game. The constant struggle has broken the army's morale. One of the knights, Sir Wharton, informs a shocked Hillen that they are giving up. Hillen turns to his knight, unable to believe what he is hearing from his once loyal subordinate, Sir Wharton. Wharton declares the hero's journey a failure, stating that his and the other men's lives matter more than this hopeless quest. The remaining soldiers stand behind him, their will to fight completely gone. 6 days into their journey, the head count has dwindled to a mere 52. At last, they find the Demon King's tower, cleverly hidden in a basin. They curse the Demon King for his cunning. Despite their losses, the remaining heroes charge recklessly toward the tower entrance, their judgment clouded by desperation. They foolishly believe the first floor will be filled with nothing but weaklings. Berge's evil grin widens as he recalls his third and final warning. When they open the tower, stand far from it. As the heroes step inside, they are not greeted by monsters, but by an array of glowing, powerful magical devices aimed directly at them. Hillen and his men look up in utter shock and horror as they finally realize they have walked straight into the Demon King's final trap. The trap is sprung. A massive torrent of energy erupts from the dwarf's mana cannons, engulfing the heroes in a devastating blast designed to wipe them all out in a single shot. Watching from his lair, Berge shows a hint of surprise. The mana cannons were supposed to be the final blow, yet he senses that it wasn't enough to completely resolve the situation. His senses were right. The attack wasn't enough to bring Hillen Cargill down. Amidst the smoldering remains of the cannons and his fallen comrades, Hillen stands alone, bathed in a mysterious golden aura, utterly confused by the power suddenly welling up inside him. Letting out a furious scream, Hillen can't comprehend the situation. Everything the Demon King has done, from the traps to the tower's design, has been completely unconventional. From the rubble, Granada appears, having also survived the blast. Hillen, still glowing with power, asks if his companion is all right, and Granada confirms he barely managed to get away. Hillen, eager to press on, tells Granada they should head to the next floor. Granada is stunned, questioning if Hillen seriously intends to continue with just the two of them. A surge of confidence flows through Hillen. He boasts that he is the hero who previously killed the Demon King of Lust and absorbed his power, making this new Demon King no match for him. Hillen tells Granada that with his power, Granada's support is more than enough. Reassured by the hero's confidence, Granada agrees to proceed with him to the next floor. The two heroes ascend to the second floor of the tower, only to find it completely vast and empty. The silence is unsettling. They continue to the third floor, which is also strangely deserted. The absence of any enemies only adds to the growing tension. Hillen grows frustrated, noting that a place like this should be overflowing with monsters. Granada agrees, sensing that something is deeply wrong with the tower's structure. Hillen braces himself, expecting anything at this point. Their caution is warranted as they arrive on the fourth floor, which is not a stone hall but a beautiful sunlit forest teeming with life. Hillen is completely dumbfounded by the impossible sight of a lush forest inside a tower, wondering what in the world is going on. He questions if they are even in a Demon King's tower anymore, a sentiment that Granada shares. The serene environment feels completely out of place. Suddenly, a female voice taunts them, remarking that she sees they've managed to make it this far. A figure in dark clothing steps into view. A mysterious woman with blonde hair and a strange mask appears before them, surrounded by small elemental spirits. She introduces herself as one of the 4 heavenly kings who protects the Demon King. She strikes a pose, declaring that she, the dark spiritist, will be their opponent on this floor. Hillen and Granada can only stare in disbelief, completely shocked by this new bizarre enemy. Hillen's eyes widen in horrified recognition. He shouts her name, Princess Ernan, questioning why the very person he came to rescue is dressed this way. The princess becomes flustered, stamping her foot and insisting that she is not a princess, but the dark spiritist. With a flourish, she unleashes her power. Now then, witness the power of darkness, she exclaims, as swirling energies of fire and water rise at her command. Hillen instantly recognizes the technique as the highest rank spirit magic, something only Princess Ernan can use. He realizes with dread that this magic can't be used if she's being controlled, meaning this betrayal is of her own free will. His mind flashes back through the entire ordeal, the Pule orcs, the avalanches, the nightly ambushes, and the tower being hidden in a basin. The cascade of impossible events continues in his mind. The mana cannons on the first floor, the empty second and third floors, and now, to top it all off, a crazed princess. The sheer absurdity of the situation finally breaks him. A hollow, defeated laugh escapes his lips as he mutters, "I don't get it." His laughter turns to rage. He screams that he doesn't know what's happening anymore, furious that the princess he came to save is now trying to kill him. In his fury, he makes a new resolve. Fine then, I'll just destroy everything. As Hillen screams his defiant vow to destroy everything, a sinister voice cuts through the air, mockingly asking, "You think you can do it?" From the shadows, the Demon King Berger emerges, revealing a more demonic form with horns and dark energy crackling around him as he prepares to confront the hero directly. In a blind rage, Hillen unleashes his power, but his attack is met by an overwhelming force. Berger effortlessly deflects the blow, unleashing a massive explosion of purple demonic energy that completely engulfs the hero, setting the stage for their final confrontation. The dust from the explosion settles, and Berger descends, his demonic form fully revealed. With a calm, menacing tone, he finally addresses the hero by his full name. "At last, I can see your face, Hillen Cargill." Enraged, Hillen prepares to fight, but he knows he needs more power to face the Demon King. His desperate eyes fall upon his only remaining companion, Granada. As if reading his mind, Berger gestures towards the unsuspecting elf who is standing alone amidst the chaos. While Berger turns away with disinterest, Hillen sees his chance and lunges not at the Demon King, but towards his own ally, Granada. Hillen grabs Granada, a sinister-looking ring with a red gem glowing on his gauntlet. He shouts for them to combine their strength, but the confused Granada has no idea what he means. Suddenly, Granada's face twists in agony. He screams out in pain as he feels his life energy being violently drained from his body by the artifact on Hillen's hand. As Granada collapses, Hillen is engulfed in a powerful green aura, the stolen life force of his friend. He looks down on the dying elf and coldly says, "Didn't I tell you, Granada? As long as you're by my side, there's no problem." Berger watches the horrific act unfold, his eyes narrowing as he recognizes the forbidden artifact Hillen is using. With a twisted manic grin, Hillen reveals the artifact's name, the Elf Eater, a forbidden item that converts an elf's infinite vitality directly into mana for its user. Hillen cruelly explains the artifact's only flaw, that the elf used as a power source dies shortly after activation. He mockingly asks the fading Granada if he's fine with this, claiming it's all for the greater good. With his final breaths, Granada can only utter 2 words, exposing Hillen's true nature. "You? Swindler. Hypocrite." Berger lets out a wide, toothy grin, thoroughly amused by the hero's descent into villainy. He compliments Hillen, telling him, "I like how vile and lowly you are." The Demon King continues to taunt him, pointing out the obvious flaw in his plan. "So, if I just take off that ring," he asks, "you'll become weak again? Is that it?" Hillen erupts in laughter, his arrogance now boundless thanks to his stolen power. He dares the Demon King to try, boasting that even the powerful Demon King of Lust couldn't remove the ring from him. Berge simply smiles and calls out a single name, Gordon. At that exact moment, a blade silently and swiftly pierces through Hillen's hand. Hillen screams in agony and disbelief. The attack was so fast and silent that he, even powered by the artifact, couldn't sense the attacker's presence at all. A man with long black hair and glasses, Gordon, appears behind Hillen, his sword at the hero's throat. He coldly tells Hillen that he is both rude and noisy. With a flick of his wrist, Gordon twists the blade, forcing Hillen's hand open and sending the Elf-Eater ring flying into the air. Gordon calmly catches the ring, the source of Hillen's power, completing the ultimate betrayal planned by the Demon King. Deprived of his stolen power, Hillen desperately charges at Gordon to try and reclaim the ring, but his attack is easily parried. Hillen is left in stunned disbelief. He can't comprehend how he was so easily defeated by a mere subordinate, even while he was using a powerful artifact. As Hillen reels from the shock, Berge appears directly behind him, his eyes glowing an intense red. "You're not going anywhere," the Demon King whispers. Frozen in pure terror, Hillen's mind screams at him to dodge, but his body is paralyzed with fear, unable to move. An immense, terrifying aura explodes from Berge. It takes the form of a colossal, shadowy dragon that looms over Hillen, symbolizing the hero's complete and utter insignificance in the face of true demonic power. Hillen realizes he can't escape as Berge's hand descends. His journey ends not in glory, but in humiliation, as the Demon King grabs him by the head and mockingly asks who he thinks the true Demon King is, setting the stage for his final punishment. With a terrifying, sadistic grin, Berge looks down at the completely broken hero. The time for games and strategy is over. He announces Hillen's fate. "It's time to take a beating, Hillen Cargill." And with that final declaration, the Demon King slams the hero into the ground with overwhelming force, the chapter ending with the sound of impact and the complete, utter defeat of the man who called himself a hero.